Okay, I guess it's time for another fasting video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Samantha Souza, certified nutrition coach and the creator of the Diet Destroyer program, where I teach you how to end the cycle of yo-yo dieting for good. And today we're going to be talking about a very, very popular fast method in the keto community, and that is the fat fast. If you're new to my channel, I have other different various fasting videos, one of which is an ice cream fast, which is pretty crazy, and another one was a beef and egg fast. That one's over 2 videos, so go and check those ones out after this one if you haven't already. And if you're missing videos like this, then maybe you should subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss videos like this. I have a couple more fasting videos coming up as well. The fat fast is something that was developed by Dr. Atkins when he kind of brought ketogenic living onto the scene, and it's been something that's been in the lexicon and been studied for decades now at this point. And it's really a sort of emergency fail-safe on the ketogenic way of living. I want to be clear that you should not be doing a fat fast if you're just losing weight slowly. Let's talk about what and who should be doing a fat fast.
So who and what is a fat fast for? So Dr. Atkins came up with the idea of a fat fast for those people who have been not having any progress or stalling out for 2 weeks or more on his, what was then known as the Atkins diet. It does not mean, however, that you're losing slower than you want to be, or you feel like you want a little extra boost even though whatever it is that you're doing is working, even if it's at a really slow rate. It is for a complete and utter stall. That means no movement whatsoever for longer than 2 weeks. That is who a fat fast was developed for. Now, a lot of people employ a fat fast or other fast methodologies when they've maybe recently gone on vacation or gone off plan for an extended period of time, or if they really want to get back into ketosis in a very, very quick way within like a day or so. I want to be clear before I get into exactly how to execute a fat fast that the weight typically lost on a fat fast like this is water weight. You can expect that when you go back to your traditional way of eating, whether it be standard American diet or whether it be going back to just normal ketogenic living, you're going to put on maybe a quarter to even half of the amount of weight that you lost over a fat fast. For a lot of people, that kind of makes it not really worth it, and more sustainable, consistent fat loss methodology is kind of like the one that I employ in my Diet Destroyer program, which you should check out down below. It tends to kind of be not worth it to do these sort of more extreme measures, but it can be helpful for people, like I said, who have been in long-term stalls and they want to see if they can get a little boost after doing this for 3 to 4 days. So with all that being said, let's get into exactly how one is supposed to execute a fat fast. Now, a fat fast is exactly like it sounds. You are basically fasting save for eating high levels of fat. A typical ketogenic diet ranges from anywhere from 65 to 80% fat, and then moderate protein, given whatever your fat number is, and then obviously low carb. Now, in a fat fast, we're aiming for something closer to 85 to 90% calories coming from fat and 0% coming from carbs. Now, obviously, you're not going to get 0 grams of carbs. That's kind of a misnomer. Even things like eggs have carbs in them. So you're just aiming for as close to 0 as possible, and then the rest of your calories coming from protein. So it's very limited depending on that range, but your goal should be around 85 to 90% fat. It's obviously not highly desirable, because if you think about what kind of foods are going to be made up of predominantly fat, you're talking things like oils, coconut butter, coconut manna, mayonnaise, butter. Those foods do not real meals really make. So even for people, when you see fat fast menus, things like egg salad, chicken salad, tuna salad, those foods are not going to be those menu items as you traditionally know them. It'll be like 1 part tuna to like 3 parts mayo. So it's basically just having chunks of things in your mayo. Again, this is another reason why this isn't supposed to be long-term or sustainable. It's just a means to an end to break a stall before you go back into your normal low-carb or ketogenic living. Now, not only are you trying to keep those ratios what they are, but you're also keeping the calories extremely low. By keeping the calories extremely low, but priming your body to utilize fat, you will be more likely to substitute the rest of those calories from body fat on your body if you're keeping those calories lower than maybe you would traditionally do, or lower than I would typically recommend even for longer than a few days. So for women, we're looking at between 1,000 and 1,200 calories on a fat fast. For men, maybe up to 1,500 or 1,600, really depends. But again, this is not sustainable, and you do not, I repeat, do not want to do this for longer than, I would venture to say, 3 or 4 days. After that, the likelihood, no matter how primed your body is to use its own fat for fuel, it has the potential, if you're not working out extensively, to start gravitating towards muscle, because that's easier to burn through, and you don't want to risk losing weight just to get softer and then therefore actually end up looking heavier. So really, a fat fast is supposed to be 3 to 4 days max, and then you can transition into your low carb or ketogenic living in order to maintain that as best as you can. And because a lot of the weight that is lost by limiting proteins and carbs ends up being regained in water weight, because a lot of the weight that you lose is water weight, so you will feel less inflamed, you will feel a little bit leaner and tighter, but just be aware that, let's say you lose 5 to 10 pounds in a fat fast, which can be possible for some people depending on how heavy you are. Like I said, a quarter to half of that weight is real weight, and the other bit of it is going to be water weight. So it will likely come back when you go back to your normal eating, even if you are going back to normal ketogenic, carnivore, low carb eating. And if you are going back to standard American diet, you can expect to gain all of it back immediately. We do not yo-yo diet here. It's never going to be lasting. If you are interested in learning how to end the cycle of yo-yo dieting for good, please register for my free masterclass down below that teaches you how to end the cycle of yo-yo dieting for good. You do not want to miss it. I don't hold anything back. And it applies to anyone, even if you're low carb, ketogenic, standard American diet or not. All these principles in this masterclass can be applicable and help you keep the weight off that you lose in any methodology. So let's get into why I'm adopting a fat fast. So recently, I'm coming off basically 3 weeks of extensive travel where my diet has not been on point. This is an expected vacation from my diet, and actually what was kind of fascinating to me was that while doing the best I could on this 3 weeks of basic vacation, my weight basically stayed the same. And that was likely because I was doing tons of walking. Some days when I went to Disneyland, I had 31,000 steps, and that extra activity might have offset any potential weight gain. And for those of you who don't know, I'm about to go play Brooke Wyndham in Legally Blonde, the musical, this summer. So I'm really looking to be in the best shape possible, but I really only have 2 weeks to do it. So I want to be extremely clear that this is not long-term weight loss. This is a means to get me back to feeling like my normal self. So today I started off with putting a little bit of half and half in my almond milk and made my greens drink that I always make every single morning. Yes, it's a little bit of carbs. It's 3 grams of carbs, but it's mostly fiber. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my micronutrients on this fat fast. For me personally, I will be aiming for around 1,150 to 1,200 calories a day because I am a more active person, and I am aiming for 85 to 90% of my calories coming from fat and minimizing carbs as low as possible. So today I did that. I also put a little bit of half and half in my coffee. I didn't film that for you, so I'm sorry. And then the rest of my day, I'm gonna primarily be using eggs. I'm gonna be making egg salad, as well as just some general scrambled eggs and omelets with extra butter and obviously mayo, so that you're gonna have a little bit more fat in these items than maybe you would normally do if you were going to be consuming them. I also recommend for people who like bacon and want to utilize bacon on a fat fast, you can buy these things called bacon ends. They're way more fat than meat, even more so than traditional bacon. So it does help you give that bacon to your diet while not going over on protein, which can be really easy to do on a fat fast. I'm also utilizing avocados, but trying to limit them because, again, they are a little bit higher in carbs, but they're also good in high healthy fats, and it's a good way to kind of break up some of the other meals. But I'm going to basically be relying on that for the first 3 days. I'm going to be aiming for 3 days for sure, and maybe doing a 4th day, kind of depending on how things go with my progress. Today, I will show you what I weighed in at, and I will continue to monitor throughout the day. I don't want this to be an extremely long video, but I will be showing you. Again, I'm up more than I had been because I recently put on 6 pounds of muscle, which is crazy since October, and I'm really, really proud of that. But I am trying to get down significantly for this upcoming show that I'm in, where I am playing, true to life, a fitness instructor.
You helped me go from a 6 to a 4.
It's great. So it's the middle of day 3. This has been really low key. I don't do great vlogging every day. The last couple of days, I basically ate the same thing. I ate like an egg salad, sort of. I didn't actually lean as heavy on the mayo as typical fat fast say, but I'm still keeping within that 80% minimum range for the macros. But I'm also finding that even eating quote unquote 0 carb, it's really not 0 carb. I'm still eating around 5% calories from carbs. People don't realize how eggs add up, and if you're leaning on eggs a little bit for this, then it's going to add up a little bit. And I really like eggs, and they're cheap, so it's a great way to do this, and frankly, lose weight and save money. I ate like an egg salad, which was heavy on egg yolk. I think it only had one actual whole egg in the whole thing, and then about 15 or so grams of mayo, which is not that much. I put a little bit of mustard in it to sort of like creamy it up a little bit. But that was good. Coffees were leaning on half and half. And then the last 2 nights I made Maria Emmerich's homemade ice cream, which is basically a cup of almond milk, a cup of heavy cream, and I put some cinnamon in it and some allulose. Oh, and technically if you want to get like total carby on me with the allulose, okay. I didn't track it. I'm not counting it. Take that as you will. It's just what I'm doing for this. It wasn't enough for the whole batch to be really worried about it. And it was absolutely delicious. I will definitely be making this from now on. It's super cheap, way cheaper than buying ice cream from the store, and it's cleaner, and there aren't a lot of weird gums or anything in it, and it's so easy in the ice cream maker. I'm probably gonna make a YouTube video about it simply because it's so good, it's so delicious, and a great way to get those fats in, especially for something like this. So that was basically my meal, and then I would do scrambled eggs with some butter in the evenings with yolk heavy. So I would take, I think it was 2 whole eggs and then 3 egg yolks has been my meal. I like to do 3 bigger meals with some coffee versus, 4 to 5 smaller 200 calorie plus, 250 calorie plus meals, which is what's advocated. I'd rather eat a bigger portion than eat more often. I think if I had to eat a 200 calorie meal, I would be really depressed 5 times, but that's just me. I'd rather eat like slightly bigger meals and make it a little bit more worthwhile. But what really shocked me in eating this the last couple of days is in that first day. I don't know whether it was because I was coming off of vacation or what, but my weight wasn't drastically different than it was before I went on vacation. But I went down 2.4 pounds, which is a lot for one day for me. That is absolutely unheard of. When it comes to losing weight, I am typically a turtle, and it's just really interesting because I've been doing such high protein lately and trying to make the fats a little bit lower and the carbs a little bit higher with higher protein. And just goes to show that my body likes old school keto, man. High fats, it likes it. It's been an adjustment because I've been doing such high protein, but you can't say it doesn't work, y'all. 2.4 down in one day is pretty insane. And I thought, okay, obviously it's gonna be slower the next day, and I'm smaller, than the average bear. And yet again, this morning I was down a whole pound again. So I'm pretty impressed that in 2 days I'm down 3.5 pounds. Absolutely unheard of for me. I'm on the middle of day 3. I'm switching it up a little bit. I had some bacon end pieces, which are a little bit more fat heavy than a normal piece of bacon. I had 1 egg, and then I had my normal half and half in my coffee. I'm still taking the reds and greens in the morning. I know it's 3 grams of carbs, but I don't care. I'm not gonna sacrifice that. And so far, so good. I just made another coffee with almond milk, so it brings the carbs up a little bit, but it also has a little bit of fats and a little bit of protein. I'm tracking everything, and I'm gonna go do some work, and then I'll come home and I'll probably do the egg thing again, scrambled eggs, and then I'll have the rest of that keto ice cream that I made. I definitely ate a slightly bigger portion than I tracked last night, but it was so good. So basically the way I'm looking at it is I tracked for the whole batch to be consumed in the 3 days. So whether I had a little bit more yesterday or a little bit less today, kind of was all gonna even out in the wash. I'm not gonna lie, I have been hungry. I am used to much bigger portion meals, whether it be because I purposefully intermittent fast so I can bank all my calories, or the fact that I'm simply eating almost half of what I normally eat, and it's all fat heavy. So when it's fat heavy, it's not very volume dense, and you can't bulk it up with carbohydrate because it's supposed to be 0 carb, right? Or aiming for that. So it's been challenging. I've been more hungry for sure. I feel the pangs, but I also feel thinner. Like I feel lighter. I feel what is happening, and it's been interesting. So I can't wait to see what happens in the next couple of days. I'm definitely gonna go for the 4 days because it's not like it's hard, and it seems to be working. But I know that you're really not supposed to do this after 4 days, and I don't recommend it for people. You can have adverse effects. I think the max maybe you could do is 5 days, and that's if you have a lot of weight to lose. And I also think that if you're working out, that makes that more palatable because you're less at risk for losing muscle if you're actively working to preserve muscle and put on muscle in the gym. And by working out, I mean lifting weights. I do not mean doing cardio. That's a recipe for also making your body eat your muscle also when it's hungry. I actually almost recommend during this time to like limit cardio and just focus on weightlifting if you're gonna work out and or just keeping the nutrition on track. But that's pretty much it. It's gonna be a short and sweet video because it's not very complicated and there's not a lot of food, right? I definitely preferred the beef and egg fast because I could eat more, just the sheer volume of it. But the beef and egg fast didn't work at the rate that this is. So far, my assessment is if you have like an event or something, this is a great way to lean out. Whether or not this is going to be sustainable long term, I sincerely doubt. That's just historically not how this ends up working. But I'm using this as a launch pad for another sort of venture. So
days 3, 4,
that's
and
it for
5
now.
really looked pretty much exactly the same. More eggs, more bacon pieces, more egg salad. It wasn't too crazy. I didn't change things up a lot. I did have more diet soda than normal just because the carbonation kind of helped me feel full because it was just such a small amount of food. It's already a low number of calories as it is. And then when you're making the majority of them fat, it's not very high volume whatsoever. But the saving grace was that ice cream, thank goodness. The next day, I did lose yet another pound, almost down to the ounce. It was kind of nuts. But then the following day, day 5, I woke up a little bit up, which was interesting. What was weird was that it says that my body fat percentage was the same, but my muscle mass went up. However, the next day we were back down again, bringing it full circle down to the ounce, 5 full pounds. My body fat percentage only went down a hair again, but almost a whole point.
Okay, so it's the end of day 5, well, really the morning of day 6, I guess. And I'm pretty impressed with how this fat fast went. I will say by the end, I was getting hungry and kind of tired, and I found myself eating a little bit more than I had tracked of each thing that I made or wanting to snack. So I don't think this is sustainable long term because usually, you know, something this low calorie is not the move. I initially was thinking about going into rolling 48 fast, kind of trying to implement the snake diet after this. And I might still do that, I don't know. But I think something that might be curious to see is if really just maintaining this high fat ratio is more sustainable long term in order to keep getting results like this. I don't think that, you know, 5 pounds in 5 days or whatever ended up being, let me double check here. Exactly 5 pounds down to the ounce. Wow, yeah, exactly 5 pounds down to the ounce, 5 pounds in 5 days, a pound a day, as advertised by the fat fast. It's kind of crazy, especially for somebody my size. And I wasn't doing really any additional workouts other than, you know, what I would normally be doing in my day-to-day because I've been so busy. So to see those kinds of results is kind of crazy. But I don't think it's sustainable, and I do feel myself getting headaches and just honestly being hungry, and I don't want to sort of live like that. So what I'm going to try to do at the end in order to keep this result as much as possible is I'm going to try and experiment with keeping that sort of 80 to 90% fat ratio, which admittedly with more food is very hard. I mean, at the end of the day, these are not the kind of meals I'd want to be eating. I definitely miss my protein, but I wonder if I were to do it and then sort of reverse diet out of it slowly but surely, if I could at least maintain most of this. I definitely feel leaner, there's no doubt about it. I see it in the mirror, I feel it in my clothes. Obviously, I'm seeing it on the scale. According to the scale though, I did lose 1% body fat in 5 days, which again is pretty fast to lose that much percentage-wise, considering how low it already is. So would I do the fat fast again? Absolutely. I think that if you have a short-term goal and you don't mind the fact that you're going to gain this weight back, this is a really effective method, whether you're keto or not. I think it's easier if you are already living a ketogenic life, but you're probably more likely to lose more weight if you're coming from standard American diet just because it's so much water weight that you're losing. But when you're already keto, you're not really losing that water weight, so it's actually more fat loss if you're coming from a ketogenic space in reality, even if you were to lose more weight the other way, if that makes sense. If you are interested in like the follow-up to this to see if my sort of reverse diet out of the fat fast works, let me know in the comments, or feel free to DM me on Instagram if this video was interesting to you and I don't end up posting a follow-up. You can always just DM me there and ask me, hi, how did that go? If you want to figure that out. These videos, these vlog style videos are pretty much the hardest things for me to film because I'm so busy, and it's really hard to go back and reflect on how every single day went without feeling like it's a little bit redundant and boring, especially something like this. But I think it was fascinating, and I'm definitely going to recommend it to people who are either in a stall, and remember, it's for people in a stall, or for people who don't mind short-term results for like a specific event, like a wedding, a birthday party, vacation, etc. Definitely will slim you down. So please like this video if this was helpful to you. Check out these other fasting videos if you haven't already down in the description box, and I will see you next time on my channel. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and then you never know, I might do it for you. Okay, bye.